All right, it is 6 o'clock Central. Welcome for a live Q&A. Enough people have been asking me for one, and frankly, I've been missing doing it. So whenever you guys bug me about things, I'm much more likely to do them in general. So before we get started, few housekeeping notes. You'll notice that a few stream updates. I switched streaming software, so you'll notice that it should look a little different. There should be things that randomly pop up. I think I can do it if I test out, like if you subscribe. There we go. So fun things might pop up. I think I've got the chat going, so the YouTube chat and the Twitch chat should both be viewable. As the meme says, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just playing around with this. So if something breaks, sorry. But we're gonna work on making this the best we can. As far as life updates, I am in a new apartment. I am not clinically insane. I'm just my office became the temporary storage place. So still working on getting it up and ready. I don't think so, other than the big one being COVID. So for those of you who don't know, I coach in Illinois. Illinois in, I think mid-February is when practice starts, which I'm really happy. My in-laws got me a nice pair of Carhartt coveralls, usually for what I assume is playoffs in like December and November. But now they're going to be my regular season coaching clothes. So thanks, Amy and Keith. But what that does mean, so if there are things you want to see, I'm going to keep doing videos kind of on plays and such. I might stream more just to like see what would be fun. Where was I going to go with that? Oh, so I might try to watch some like Army Navy Kennesaw games and maybe like stream and watch them and just kind of give updates, maybe do them afterwards. But if you are in a state and you are coaching and you're playing games and you want me to like break down film or review with you, if you want to come on, I can probably figure out how to do that and we can like talk through your game while people are watching. I don't know. I'm up for anything because at this point I'm going kind of insane and I can only walk the dog so many miles a day. Speaking of which, if they pop up, sorry. So yeah, any other new content, happy to do. Now that I've got kind of this whole setup, yeah, may as well use it. So, I guess let's go to Q&A since that's what people are actually here for. Forgive me, I was not as on the ball as I usually am and did not write down who this was. So I believe this was Reverend. QBs and maybe how y'all coach with your QBs, especially against junk defenses, coverage reading, different blitz schemes, etc. I've got 2 young QBs and trying to teach them pre-snap work. Anything you can share would help. So let's start with my usual caveat. Everyone coaches things different. What I call something might be different. If we wanted to get more into this topic, and you'll hear me reference Matt Miller, my head coach, who I think is a genius when it comes to this stuff, who played quarterback at the D3 level in this offense. He is the man. So I've learned everything from him, and I'll try not to screw it up too bad. So as far as pre-snap reads, typically we'll have the offensive line identify the front. There are words that we use to identify these, but I've deleted those just in case anyone in the greater Chicago area decides to think it's a good idea to watch this. And that tells us a few things. So A, that's going to help your quarterback identify the front, but we also have a few automatic checks, a few automatic reads based on the front. So there are certain plays that are better into certain fronts. Our A-backs might block things a different way depending on the front. So first and foremost, that's typically done by your offensive line, center and 2 guards, because depending on what combination of them is covered is going to help identify that front. Another thing worth looking at for your quarterback is safeties. How many are they? Is it one high or two high? And their alignment, are they over, if it's one safety but he's playing to the field, okay, that's a numbers advantage. So that kind of goes us into our key reads. So first thing is, if it's an option play, your quarterback's going to want to look at who are the guys he's reading, right? And if there's stunts, if there's quarterbacks going, being able to make that decision where his eyes need to snap on the snap of the ball. And as far as numbers, I mentioned like that safety, he can do a quick check, right? So if everything's balanced, right? If we're in our base formation, we're in a balanced formation, defense should be balanced. There should be about, what would that math be? 5.5 guys on either side, right? So let's assume everything is even. There's a safety that splits right down the middle. He's half, 5.5. If the defense does something stupid, or they're trying to be sneaky, or maybe they're trying to cheat to the field, and maybe you get 7 on one side and 4 on the other. My math is right. I was a poli-sci major. Obviously you want to run to the 4. So you have to figure out what your audible scheme is going to be. And this goes with, the Reverend mentioned young quarterbacks. So sometimes you don't want to give them too much to think about, right? Because you want them to be in the moment, you want them to be going through their reads. Having to check and analyze and call the play at the line might be difficult. So one thing, and this is something we do, we'll audible from the sideline. Like, we'll know what look we want, and if we're not getting it, we'll audible the play and have that ready for the kids to look, right? We hold up a sign. Shout out to Father Tabor from our school, who is a very tall priest. So people sometimes get weird. People ask and raise an eyebrow as to why there's a very tall priest holding our cards. He also coaches with us. He's great. 2 things that you can do in that situation. So for example, if you're trying to run triple and you want to run triple to the right, and you realize that D tackle is right in a 3 technique on the side you want to run to, the 2 options that you can do, one would be to check over, or to, some schools will call it like Riverside, but basically triple right now becomes triple left. So it's the same play, everything should be balanced, no one has to move, everyone just knows instead of going triple right, you go triple left. Another thing you can do as far as triple, to change the play, is just have like a basic audible. Something that's really easy to do is if they run midline to the right and just run right underneath him. You can do that with midline, you can do that with zone dive. Nothing too crazy, but just that's all you can really ask for. Let's see, as far as pre-snap reads, those are going to be the big ones. If you're throwing the ball, obviously knowing where the safeties are at. If you're throwing the ball, how much cushion those cornerbacks are giving you. You know, if it's a 1 high safety, they're probably in cover 3, and those 2 corners are going to have to drop, so you're not going to get corner fill. And if you're running your smash concepts, if you're running, any post wheel type concept, to have an idea of what that corner's responsibility is going to make your throw that much better. I haven't seen anything come through on chat, I don't think, so I'm going to assume no one's going to be super upset about that. Trying to figure out how all this new stuff works. So if you see me cheat on my phone, that's gonna be me making sure that like what I'm seeing is like what you guys are seeing. So don't get too messed up with that. Let's do this. If I go to reads, the next thing that people really wanted to hear about was kind of play calling, play strategizing. My thought, and in our league, we tend to see a lot of 8-man boxes. If you are, in general, I think we talked before about if-then play calling, which we can talk a little bit more about if you want. I think this is a slide I actually used before. And I'm trying to think here. Yeah, versus any 8-man front, my thought is I like to run over. Over being putting both X's, both wide receivers on the same side of the ball, both on the line. So this guy becomes ineligible, which is okay because most of the time we want to run the ball. And what that does is it puts the defense in kind of a bind. So what you want to do, I would come out in over and I'd run over to the field. So if we're in over, theoretically a balanced formation as far as the defensive front goes, I would expect most teams are going to call their strength to the field. And so what that's going to do is that's going to align these D tackles in a way where the 3 is to the field. 3 technique being this guy. If you need the refresher, 2 would be head up on the guard. 3 would be off balance. I'm seeing 2 of these. I like it. That's actually coming through on the other chat. I don't even have to have both of them there, but we'll do it for now because I don't want to fix it on the fly, so I'll probably break it. Can I show this if then? Yes. I think I also have one I made up as well. Let me think of the best way to do that, and I can make that happen. Sorry, out of my flow. So really as a play caller, I'm going to want to try to influence these 2 D tackles, and I'm going to want to call things based on this. So I might open up with this look. I might just run zone dive to the field. I might run rocket toss to the field just to see how they're going to react. And what I forgot is pre-snap, teams will do different things with this corner. So if they come and match the corner with the ineligible receiver, great. We're still good numbers wise. We can run this way. We've got everyone blocked. We're happy with that. To start off, if he stays here backside, we now have the advantage to the field, which is what we want. So that's why I like to do this to the field first. And ideally, if you pound them 1 or 2 plays, if they're going to align him away, is eventually they're going to sneak this guy over to try to balance up. This is good. Because then you can still run, and let me get my drawing here going. Let's try this. You can still run triple away or triple to the boundary with those 2 guys. And look at this. We've got great blocks here for our triple. And the only guy left to make this play is the free safety. So, right, run him there. Right, he's going. That's actually not what I wanted. Sorry, I got yelled at for not being as accurate as I should be. We've got that path, and we can go that way. Right, really easy reads, and if it's quick and it's easy, there's a lot of yards there. And actually, as I watched Navy this year, I think Navy did a lot of this, or at least more than the Georgia Tech film that I was used to watching. Once you get them and you realize how they're calling their D tackles, if they're calling them to the field, great. Because then the next step in that if-then, it's a big game of cat and mouse. As soon as I get them comfortable in that, I'm going to come back and run my over into the boundary. So now we have the exact same conundrum that we had before. If they're going to run this cornerback into the boundary, we've got a lot of space out here where we can run triple, we can run rocket, we can run just about anything we want away from this. It's also a great time to run midline to the 3 is really easy. What am I forgetting? I love mid-triple out of this look too. So if we actually bring this here, let's see, can I go? I can delete these quick. So let's say that this corner is gonna stay back over here. We can run a real nice mid-triple. We actually con motion this, right? So let's bring him out here. corner over, they might like split the difference here. And actually here, I'll even cheat. I'm gonna bring this guy down. So if we're running mid triple, we get a block here. Let's see, we get a block. I'm gonna mess up my rules, I'm sure, because I haven't coached O-line in a while. But let's go ahead and just call this, right? Down, down. And we've got our mid triple here. Because if we can get these two guys blocked, right, out on the perimeter, he's gone. There's no one to catch him. So playing cat and mouse with those two wide receivers against an 8-man front is probably what I am most excited about, or what I like, if I were calling, hint, hint, Matt Miller, if we get a JV season at all, and someone's calling plays for them, this is what I would do, especially a varsity team is going to be ready for this. A JV and a freshman team might not. So if nothing else, if you come out with over and start gashing them, you're at least going to burn a timeout for them to like reconfigure and figure out what they need to do. Beyond this, what point was I going to make? Once we have over, if you start playing with green and brown and flipping between the A-back and the slot receiver who's on the line and who's off the line to try to catch them where they think the over receiver is ineligible when he actually is. You can mess with trips to see how they're going to align to it. And the more that you can get those defenses kind of guessing, the better. And I would almost do it, we like to call this like a series offense, right? So I might run all over the first series, and then I might run all trips the next series. And then maybe I go heavy the third series, right? And really just trying to keep them off guard and not showing them the same thing. So while we're in the booth or we're taking notes to know, hey, like this look is open, this look is open. Speaking of which, the other probably second play calling style, maybe you want to call it that, is to script out those looks, right? Run your formations, run your base plays. Don't do anything crazy, just so you can get that on film of how are they reacting to motion? How are they calling strength? How are they reading, are they reading guards? Are they reading wings? Are they reading the mesh? And then being able to take a look at those and then calling your plays based on those. And you should have some if-thens on, hey, we know if they're doing this, this look is good. And then beyond that, let's see, like that's assuming, right, we're just playing with letters and circles on the board. None of this is taking into account like who your best athletes are. Is your line good? Is your line not good? Generally, you want to try to get the ball into the hands of your best player. If I haven't said this recently, your best player should probably be your B-back and or quarterback. Once you get them in a good rhythm, right, if you lull the defense to sleep, we don't do this as much as we should. Calling things on two against the option, they're going to be like very much looking, they're going to be reading their keys. If they're firing backers based on like which A-back is in motion, knowing that like, okay, if they stop it with that guy and the backside guy is scraping over, we're going to run a counter play. We're going to run counter option. We're going to run counter ISO. We're going to run, for us, A ISO. Whatever that is, right, take advantage of that flow. So you either want to be on the offense and you as the offense dictating to the defense, or take what the defense gives you, lull them to sleep, and then hit them for big yardage. Both of those I think are viable. I don't think you have to pick one. Let's see. While I'm ranting here, decided to flip the line in the fall. Biggest thing about flipping the line, what is this wing tee? They call it strong and quick or something of that nature. The biggest difference is your backside guys still have to block, and it does kind of give away. If you're going to flip them, right, like if every time you're running the ball to the right, your strong side of the line is on the right, that's a tip-off that a coach watching film is going to see. Other than that, I don't know how much you're pulling at all, but if that impacts who's pulling or how they're, blocking screens or other counter type plays or traps, that could be something. That's actually a good thing if you have like one guard who's always going to pull, because that's how you're going to align. That could be a benefit if he's good at pulling, or a detriment if he's not good at pulling. Other than that, I don't know, just go to your skill set, right? Like if they can do it, great. I can't say I've done it in this offense recently. I just know it from like studying some wing T stuff. Otherwise, there's a question about cadence. Cadence is really fun, sort of. We go down. Quarterback will say down as he's walking up to the center. That's just to get everyone to know to be set. And then it's set, ready, go. And we kind of have them hang out that ready, and based on the play and the speed of the A-back, depending on whether it's, we'll write it out with like ready with like 3 Ys and be like, whether it's the first Y, the last Y, the R in ready, making sure that they can get that first step in the ground, so that on, rocket, you're getting the ball, right? If that's our imaginary line, we want to make sure that A-back has enough time to get through there. Maybe I'll go more into cadence. I realized maybe last month I've never actually done a basics video on, alignment, on where people are lined up, on splits, on all of that. Maybe I'll do that. That sounds like that could be a worthwhile project, because I think that kind of goes into cadence and huddle and all that other stuff. So we talked about, playing games with them. Oh, so next topic is kind of defenses that you're going to see. We actually didn't see as many junk defenses this last year on the varsity level as we usually do. But just some big things, overall formations, themes, alignments that we look at. I think I've got a few of these with examples. So the first is Eagle 8. Trademark of an Eagle is going to be, right, you're 3-on-3 here. So basically they're negating your entire offensive line. Usually they probably put their star kid at middle backer, because they're hoping this kid eats everything up and their 2 outside guys are going to be able to cover. I don't see a lot of teams playing this well. I think these guys typically get exposed, because if they're going to come in on the dive phase or any type of option, that's going to leave your flats wide open. And if they're going to stay outside to be responsible, you can run right underneath them with like just a zone dive. But what this does do is it makes your, obviously you can't really pull. Ooh, didn't mean to grab the backer there. Can't really pull out of this. So anytime that I or we see an Eagle, your first thought should be rocket, right? Run outside on these guys, because you should be able to get by without blocking most of them, right? So if you're going to do play side, right, you can probably get him blocked here. You're going to go out like that on your rocket. We've also got him going out. So you could do this as a regular rocket, or if you wanted to do this as more of like a switch concept, right? Run him on a switch, have him kick out the corner. Now there's no one here for your rocket. I'll show you, we actually had, who is this? Marian Catholic down in Chicago Heights. Came out in an Eagle against us. So you see they're lined up. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They actually are playing this guy further inside than I thought. That they came out in an Eagle. We ran rocket and ran outside multiple plays in a row. And I think after the second series, they got out of their Eagle because it wasn't sustainable for them. And as you can see, these are the same play, taken at just about the same second. First play of the game, actually. it gives you a lot of space, post wheel, if you want to run a smash concept. The key here, though, is if your line is not very good, that's why you want to get it to the outside. These guys were, I don't know if you can tell here, I don't know if this is me picking on a high school kid, but oops. This guy was huge, and our center was not as huge. So we didn't feel very good about us manning up one-on-one down the line and being able to stop them and block them for our normal package. So we just ran rocket, right? If you can't block them, read them or run past them. And that was kind of our go-to in that front. Is you have your Eagle 7. So still you get your same Eagle look, your TNT over your guard, center guard. But instead of 3 backers, you have 2 backers with 2 safeties. Same idea. The only thing that's different here, you should instantly be thinking rocket because, right, we've got 1, 2, 3 for essentially 1, 2, assuming the guard can pick him up. And we don't, you just don't have to block any. Did I put this up against? This is Joliet Catholic, home of Mike Allstott, I think, if I'm remembering this game correctly. So you'll see they actually have their tackles offset in 3s, which is fine. The idea of an Eagle is just basically all 3 of them are covered. So if that nose is shaded, if they're playing games around, at the end of the day, it's still an Eagle. You're not going to want to midline this. You're not going to want to, do anything inside here, right? It's essentially 5-on-3 here. So that's why you want to try to run outside. I believe so here's our, double Eagle, TNT, run rocket. This is, I forget if this is Paul Johnson's exactly. Where was I thinking this was? Nah, it's fine. So that's Eagle 7. We saw not as often. Eagle 8 we saw a few teams run against us. A lot of teams just came out against their base. We actually saw more 7-man place, and we were a small team. So we probably could have gotten better in taking advantage of that. We also faced a couple great athletes that are now going to go and play on Saturdays if Saturdays happen or when Saturdays happen. 3-3-5. We only faced one team that was a 3-3-5, and we got there. They ran this a lot like a monster back, where this middle backer was, they'd be doing stunts, they'd send, the tackle outside and the backer inside, and they had all that covered. They were also very good. There was a lot of things wrong that day. But anytime that you get an odd stack like this, if we were to go back to the Paul Johnson if-then statement, where am I here? I'm staring into my computer, and I've got kind of a ring light looking at me, so it's hurting my eyes to look at a little bit. If tackles, right, bring your wide receiver in on the line like a tight end, or flip your tackle onto the other side and bring your wide receiver in to run like a true tackles formation. Theoretically, if you can not present them a balanced front, they're going to have to break that stack somehow, and you can probably exploit that extra gap that they can't cover, is the thought process behind that. So, did I actually put an image of this? Yeah, we only had one, we had some camera issues this game too, but you'll see here that this Mike backer is, you'd probably call that 1-2. Tried to send everything outside. Look how, you can't even see the corner here, who's guarding our guy. So we probably could have done a little bit more with a tight or a tackle heavy over. Let's see, outside. They're also a very good team. I'm not going to make any excuses for what we should have done because nothing was working. I'm sure you guys all know those games. The last one that used to be really popular, when I was in Madison, Wisconsin, we would see it a fair amount, was the 4-4 stack, and not in a traditional stack, but where they would stack their two inside backers. And this, the further back inside backer was basically their monster. They're free, because it really screws up your blocking schemes, right? Like if you're trying to run triple against this, and we would send him, because what would we still call this? We'd still try to call this, we would actually try to send him inside. We'd be reading him and reading him. And then we would go here and then try to scoop and go like that. Basically what happens is it's very hard if this guy starts seeing a run and scrapes over. It's very hard to out leverage him with your A-backs, and your tackle is not going to make that block. Especially if these D tackles are good enough to warrant the need for two guys. It can be really hard. We actually saw this. Who ran this? Madison Memorial ran this back when Jake Ferguson was playing middle linebacker, who's now a tight end at Wisconsin, I think. And we actually managed him pretty well. But in general, this gives teams a lot of fits. If I remember right, it was either Clemson or Georgia ran this against Georgia Tech 2 or 3 years ago. And I think it got a little popular after that. Quinn asked, what school did I coach at in Madison? That was Madison West. RIP. I won't say anything negative, but I was there for 5 years before moving to Chicago. And then I think that's it on defenses. I was really hoping that I would see some other things on film that I could have talked to you about. A good question. So what's hard is even if you were to run like, you know, if we were going to do like a traditional look at this and we were going to run, I don't know, say midline. Actually, mid-triple could be a decent look on this, right? Like if we were going to go mid, especially if we can get the scoop there. But that gives us a pretty good over-under. Oh, shoot. That's what our A-backs do. Missed the block there. I think mid-triple against this works really well. I think you could formation them out of this. You know, if you ran a trips, let's see. So if we're going to run trips, let's get out a draw. And I'm going to run this A-back over here. They either are going to have to bring this free safety over, which I don't think most teams would want to do. If they tried to split the difference with this backer, then I'm attacking this area that's vacated because they can't cover all of these. I would probably try to look really hard if he's flowing, right? If he's reading the mesh and charging it hard and trying to read the play, I'd try to do a lot of counter action to go back, try to get him to take a few steps right down this way, and then be able to just go, 3-on-3 on the backside. Saw this look with the backer running sideline to sideline. He just ran rocket until the guy got tired. That's a great point. If you have the athletes and you can get there, and if you think that you're kind of betting that your kids are better conditioned than that kid, I could definitely see that. Otherwise, yeah, you could do formations, hook curl and flats to be open. So those are all the questions. You can let me know in the chat. I've been midline with a QB. You'd probably like maybe like a QB follow fold. Like he'd be there. He'd probably try to get one of those two if we can get a fan on him. And but being able to run midline, you could even, because if you're gonna fold him in, you may not even need to run this as midline. You could just run it as like a QB follow. Or if you want to run that off of a triple look, if you want to run that off of a zone dive look, you could do both of those. If you wanted to get more into like the zone option, the lead option, zone option kick is probably really nice right here. There's a lot of looks out of this. Again, I don't know if teams are still running this as much. It used to be kind of popular, or I'd see it a lot on like Coach Huey and other message boards that teams were doing it. I think the biggest thing as a Flexbone coach is just to know where your levers are that you can play with. Like, hey, they're reading the A-backs. Okay, let's influence, like send the A-back out of the play, get them to run out of the play, and then run underneath. Or it's, whether they're really disciplined and they're scraping, or whether they're, we had a really hard time with odd fronts with, tackles or ends that would knife inside really hard, right? Because it forces that read, it forces things to be hard. So that's where knowing like rocket, mid triple, kind of having your answer. So we like to go through our game plan and go, okay, like this is the defense we expect. If we run this, how are they going to adjust to it? And then be ready with an adjustment to their adjustment. And a lot of times that's what we'll do at halftime. If we don't, if we're seeing something we're not expecting, we'll have a plan and we'll be watching. But really figuring out how they're aligned pre-snap, if they're running any type of motion, or if they're, stunting based on motion, being able to call that out and figure it out. I think that's most of it. I mean, it's been like 45 minutes. I'll give it like 30 seconds if there's anything in the chat people want me to go over. I'll just kind of keep rambling until something comes up, and if nothing does, we'll chill. And I do mean what I said, right? If you're fortunate enough to be in a state where you're playing football, lucky you. I mean, I wish I could be coaching. Obviously, the public health guidelines say something different. Yeah, it's true. Martin, QB follow backside with a double on the... Yeah, double on the one. That makes sense. If you are coaching, right, I would love to watch your film. If you are fine with me doing that live, if you want to join me and we can talk through things, if you want to say, hey, this is what we're seeing in practice, can you help? I've got nothing but time. You can send me film via Huddle, St. Ignatius College Prep. That'll get to me. If you don't have Huddle, you can, there's enough ways to share film. We can figure it out. I'm here to help. So yeah, let me know. As always, you guys can always reach out to me, right? Email, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch now. There's enough ways. I'm happy to help, and Michigan's not playing either, so my weekends are pretty free. If you want to come on and talk about something, like I'm open to that too. Especially if there's defensive guys. Like I love just picking the brains of coaches that coach defense because it's not my natural thing. So like, how would you react to this? How would you run this? So